Balance within the Force is a concept that seems to be split between two schools of thought, both feeling that their version is correct, and it doesn't help that both are represented quite a few times throughout Star Wars canon. Because this video will only be discussing the current canon within Star Wars, I'll be sticking strictly to canon source material such as the movies, animated series, books, and comics. Many believe, as both what George Lucas and the Chosen One prophecy state, that balance is only achieved with the removal of the dark side, that the dark side is unnatural and to be purged accordingly. The light side is the natural order of things, the true balance. The dark side corrupts completely, and anyone that attempts to use it is doomed to eventually fall and be lost, especially if they continue to use it. We are shown throughout the history of Star Wars, however, that the fall is not permanent, and that it is possible for those that have succumbed to the dark side to find their way back to the light, as both Darth Vader and Kylo Ren have, reverting back to Anakin Skywalker and Ben Solo. This too is often used to prove the point that the light side of the Force itself is balance. There are several contradictions to this theory though, inside and outside of Star Wars. For starters, the very definition of what balance is a state of equilibrium or even distribution of weight. Balance can't exist if everything is shifted to the light. Balance can't exist with the removal of dark because good can't exist without evil. It would become more difficult to define what is good without having something evil to oppose or counteract it. That brings us to George Lucas contradicting himself, by also stating that Star Wars is a story about the balance between light and dark, and that both are necessary. It's no secret that George Lucas had many inspirations when coming up with Star Wars, one of the more obvious ones being Eastern culture and philosophy, as seen with early lightsaber duels, and from this quote from George Lucas taken from Star Wars, the annotated screenplays. The idea of positive and negative, that there are two sides to an entity, a push and a pull, a yin and a yang, and the struggle between the two sides are issues of nature that I wanted to include in the film. For anyone unfamiliar, yin and yang is an ancient Chinese philosophy that states that forces which may appear to oppose one another actually complement and are interconnected to one another. This is why Kylo Ren states that he feels like he's being torn apart when speaking to Han Solo in The Force Awakens, after previously stating to Snoke that he won't be seduced. What is he being seduced by if he has already fallen to the dark side? The answer is simple. The light side pulls, much in the same way that the dark side does. This is further illustrated by the living force, to which light and dark are connected, yet counterbalance one another. Taking a step back, the same goes for the Force itself, which is a balance of the living force and cosmic force, which are also connected yet counterbalance one another. This is seen during the Mortis arc of the Clone Wars cartoon series, which is written and directed by Dave Filoni, who was studied under George Lucas, with George also being involved in the creation of the series. In Season 3, Episode 15, the father says,
"It is only here that I can control them. A family in balance, the light and the dark, day with night, destruction replaced by creation. Too much dark or light would be the undoing of life as you understand it."
Freddie Prinze Jr., in a very passionate interview, reiterates this concept of balance between light and dark.
And everybody, I know more about the Force than most people because Dave Filoni taught me and George Lucas taught him. These are George Lucas's words, not mine, so f*** you if you disagree with me. Straight up, this is information, not affirmation time. Straight up, man. So the Emperor knows that. So instead of killing Anakin, what does he do? He seduces Anakin to double the strength of the dark side. So then what does the Force do?
Balance.
It balances us. How? It gives us twins, Luke and Leia, 2 and fucking 2. Balance. And if you look at the movie through just that simple perspective, you will not only know why every single bad guy loses and every single good guy loses, you'll know who's gonna win and lose in the next fucking movies. I can tell you, I just don't want to wreck it.
Even though new canon games, books, etc. show us that other Jedi still lived during these times, but that wasn't George Lucas's original plan when he wrote Star Wars back in the 70s and 80s. Now, although I don't agree that balance is a one-for-one thing, as Freddie Prinze Jr. states, it's more apparent through the canon media that the balance and power is separated and evenly spread among the two sides, which is why two Sith can overthrow an entire legion of Jedi, like in the prequel trilogy. This is also why we have a never-ending cycle of conflict between the light and the dark, as one side always rises to counteract the other when the other has too much control. In The Last Jedi, within the temple located on Ahch-To, a mosaic can be seen that shows a lightsaber-wielding being referred to as the Prime Jedi. This Prime Jedi is split in two, light and dark, a balance between the two. Its design is similar in concept to that of yin and yang. Furthermore, we have this scene from The Last Jedi where Rey is being taught about the Force by Luke.
It's the energy between all things, the tension, balance that binds the universe together. What do you see?
The island. Life. Death and decay that feeds new life. Warmth. Cold. Peace. Violence.
And between it all,
Balance. And energy. A force. Beneath the island. A place. A dark place.
balance. Powerful light, powerful darkness.
To really drive the point home, I'll use another quote from George Lucas, taken from the Los Angeles Times in 2002. I wanted to have this mythological footing because I was basing the films on the idea that the Force has two sides, the good side, the evil side, and they both need to be there. Most religions are built on that, whether it's called yin and yang, God and the devil, everything is built on the push-pull tension created by two sides of the equation. Right from the very beginning, that was the key issue in Star Wars. So, despite both examples of balance being discussed by the creator of Star Wars, George Lucas, the idea of the light and the dark side of the Force coexisting is more prominently featured throughout Star Wars canon. I know some people may disagree, but there just isn't enough evidence to support the idea of balance being the removal of the dark side almost entirely. I hope you enjoyed this video and that it helped in understanding the concept of balance within the Force. Can you think of any other examples from the movies, comics, or books that further illustrate this balance that I might have missed? What Force user or being do you also feel lives within the balance of the Force? Please share your thoughts in the comments as I'd love to read them. Thanks again for watching. I'm Anthony, and may the Force be with you.